plain English, follow the money or the rubles? Will that be a big part of this?
That line, by the way, was written by William Goldman in the screenplay for All the President's Men, and it has become part of the language of this country. Ari, in old Hitchcock movies, they used to talk about the MacGuffin. The MacGuffin was the thing on which the plot turned, okay?
Yeah.
What's the MacGuffin here? What is the thing that this president is so desperate to hide that he might have gambled his presidency on it? And because that's the question. What are the lengths that he will go to keep Robert Mueller from finding the MacGuffin?
Are you asking me, or can you tell me?
No, to me, it's the unknowable thing about this. It has been the unknowable thing from the start. And as a New York lawyer I know said to me today, this is the beginning of the end, the impaneling of this grand jury, or the end of the beginning, okay? This is the end of the overture. And maybe Robert Mueller has got a grand jury now, and he's going to start picking people off one by one.
Well, here's the theory of the case. You respond. One, the MacGuffin is some illicit activity related to the election. Two, the MacGuffin is some unrelated financial issue.
Right.
Three, the MacGuffin is that Donald Trump is an unusual man, he says so himself, with a great deal of feelings about the loss of the popular vote in the 2016 election, and a great deal of responses to what he views as the delegitimization of that election unrelated to any actual misconduct. Those are three theories.
I think it's going to be money. I do think it's going to be money. There's something in the tax returns, or it's something when he was facing bankruptcy back in the 1990s, that maybe somebody bailed him out. But it is something that, if it is made public, will diminish the idea that this guy is one of the great titans of industry of all time.
David?
Well, it is money for sure, and every time this issue comes up, Donald is actually transparent about this. He doesn't want Mueller looking into his family business and its money. Donald has been involved with Russian money going back to the late 80s. His family had numerous connections with the Russians. And one of the things he may be very worried about is the Trump-Soho lawsuit that they've been trying so hard to get rid of, in which the profits from this hotel project in New York, in which both banks and investors lost money and yet it had profits, disappeared in a deal Donald signed off on, and he was an 18% owner of the project, into an Icelandic bank that was under the thumb of one of the Russian oligarchs. And that's clearly what Donald is really worried about here. And a grand jury would be very useful for investigating these things, both for getting documents as well as leveraging people and getting information out of them.
That's right. I mean, that's certainly true as an investigative process. I will mention here, and we had some Trump surrogates on earlier in the hour, the Trump folks have strenuously denied all this. They've also said that a investigation or hunt of past activities before November doesn't seem very fair, because the feds could have looked at that any other time, and they've raised that issue. Having said that, David, look at this New York Times reporting that seems more and more relevant as the big news breaks tonight. Quote, a former senior official saying Mueller's investigation looking at money laundering by Trump associates, the suspicion that cooperation with Russian officials would have been done in exchange for a financial payoff. That would have been an effort to hide the payoffs, most likely by routing them through offshore banking centers. David, based on your reporting, how does that work, and would there ultimately be records to catch it?
Oh, there would be records, and we have a very important federal agency, FinCEN, which is mostly IRS people who are very good at finding needles of money in haystacks of global commerce. The transactions Donald's been involved with, that I'm sure he's worried about, will end up being connected to Deutsche Bank, the bank that loans him money, the bank that was laundering money for the Russians, the purchases of properties from him at high prices, and hopefully Mueller will go all the way back to the 1980s and Donald's inexplicable deep entanglement that I go into in depth in the making of Donald Trump with a major international drug trafficker and he went to bat for.
And so, Mike Lupica, final thought, more money, more problems.
Yeah, I mean, one of the lawyers I talked to comes out of RICO cases in New York City, and he said, don't kid yourself. If he's got a grand jury now, he's looking to indict people.
Right, and that's what grand juries
That's what
often do, not
Ari-
always, because we want to be fair, but that is often what they do, and they are such a powerful tool.
And
Mike?
again, start picking people off one by one.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.